Afternoon. Marcus here. Today I'm going to be talking about a buddy and something that he had mentioned to me, and it's along the lines of, hey, they didn't just leave something out. They lied straight to your face. Now, where do we go with that? So today we're going to be discussing all the things that are associated with getting straight disrespected. And getting straight up betrayed. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel, so hang in there. Yeah, so it's a lot. And what it mostly has to do with is the other person not having the courage to say whatever it is to the other person. So it's not a lack of their own, but it's a lack of courage on the part of the person that didn't, let's say, left stuff out. And it's all right, totally cool, but it kind of creates a chasm, if you will, a distance that if the person doesn't have the courage to say something, or they don't have the courage to speak, and tell the other person, it's not that they're just leaving something out. They're just straight up lying to their face. And such things happen. And can they be mended? Sure. Can they be worked through? Yes. And maybe the friend is hasn't left an environment for which the person can be courageous or can be honest and forthcoming with certain things that they need to mention. And it could be the fact that, hey, every time something is mentioned along those lines, or something needs to be talked about, that the other person blows up in their face and blah, 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 blah. So it's easier for them to kind of keep it within themselves and keep this little bit of information from them. Now, I guess it might be confusing, or it could be very accurate, and I could be straight up talking to you. Now, if it is you that I'm talking to, hey, there's things that we can do, you know? It's not the end of the world. It's all right. We're gonna get through this. And you can't kind of throw away the fact that it could be partially your fault. On the from the perspective of the betrayee, let's say. Because, yeah, it could be the fact that you didn't allow those types of conversations, those difficult conversations, to be held, and the other person didn't feel the other person didn't want to pass the threshold of that difficult conversation in order to talk to the person. And that could be the fault of them. And the fault of the other person as well. But I guess this might be a little confusing. But it's alright. Also, I'm not your dad. I'm not your father. You don't have to listen to anything that I'm saying. So, just gonna put that aside there. I'm just speaking from my own perspective. I'm just a random dude on the internet. So, take that as you will. So if you're in this type of situation where I'll speak on the person that has this thing that they haven't spoken with the other person about. And if you're in that situation, it's all right. You know, just you've got to set aside time to be like, hey, I'm going to do the dishes. I'm going to put the kids to bed. Let's talk about this. And set aside time to be like, hey, this is what I have to tell you. This is what I want to say. And the other person might blow up in their face. Might just say, la la la, ha la la. And I mean, by all means, if it does get, too crazy, just, you can leave. You can walk out the door. But it is important to do it immediately. Not necessarily immediately, but like that day or the next day. You can't keep putting it off. And I'm talking to you. See what I did there? You have to muster up that courage, because they don't deserve it. They don't deserve the deceit. And it is really not, you're not leaving something out. You are straight up lying to their face. And it's just out of respect for the other person. Like, you've got to move forward in telling that information. And you've got to set aside time to be like, hey, I've got to tell you something. I've got something important to talk about. Hey, we're going to do this. We're going to get everything situated. And we're going to set aside time to talk about this and have this difficult conversation. And having the courage to do that is hard, especially when the other person is like, everything's on the line, especially if the other person is very volatile and very, can blow up. And it's important for continuing on forward in a truthful existence to tell the other person. And it's like, you can keep it a secret till the grave. Whatever. That's on you. But I wouldn't recommend that, because I'm all about integrity and honesty. But if that's you, by all means, I'm not your father. But getting back to the point, sorry for the little tangent. Yeah, just have that courage to come out, and that thing that's inside of you, that it now becomes a disguise that you're playing, and now becomes, there's something left behind your eyes, as Dylan would call it. And you're trying to hide from this fact. But it's like, why do you need to hide? You might as well just like live a truthful existence. And live an existence that's true to your own self, but out of respect for the other person, like true to them. And the truth will set you free. As silly as that is, not silly, it's not silly, but as cliche as that is, it will give you existence that down the line, maybe in the short term it's not great, but down the line you will become more of a full person, because you're not having to hide the fact, or you're not having to put on this thing and have all these feelings of whatever it is that you're feeling, guilt, shame, any of those, because it's all right. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. But having that courage to say, hey, I wanna talk to you. I wanna tell you something, and we've got to do the things. I'm gonna come home from work, and we're gonna have this discussion, or whatever it is. You've got to take that initiative to do that. And, all right, for the other person. Now we're talking to the other person. You might completely be blindsided by this. You might be completely, how do you say it? Unaware, clueless of this fact, or you might kind of have a feeling, but there's no way to tell you before. There's no way you're gonna find this video, I guess, because you won't know. But let's say you have had that conversation. No, let's say before. Okay, let's say you have had that conversation. Maybe it was some part of you that was not allowing a space for the other person to have these difficult conversations. You can't fully villainize them, although you can, but what I'm saying is, you've got to look into your own self. And it could be the fact that you haven't allowed the space for the other person to talk to you in a safe environment. Like, maybe you haven't had the language to be able to deal with that. And it's important to not just villainize the other person completely. It's important to be like, oh, what went into the other person doing this kind of thing? What went into them keeping it from you for a long time? And it definitely could be the fact that you yourself haven't been welcoming to the fact that you can have these types of conversations. Maybe in the past you've been like blowing up in their face, or like saying crazy stuff. And that's on you. That's your ability to withstand hardship. That's your ability to be resilient and not take things so crazy. And it could be the fact that, yes, you, in the past, this person has brought up certain things and you've reacted poorly. Or let's say you've reacted in a way that didn't make them feel comfortable with bringing these kinds of things up, or bringing anything up to you, because they're like scared, or like they're kind of, they don't feel that you will react well to it. And to have that conversation, it's a difficult conversation, but it needs to be had. Or you can not have it for a long time, and then it'll just be worse. And then all that time, this person's just been kind of putting on a disguise, or not being fully truthful. And it is the fact that if I'm crazy. It is the fact that it's not just leaving something out. It's just straight up lying to their face. And if this is confusing, if this video is long enough, if you made it this far, thank you. And if you need anyone to talk to, call in. I'd love to have you. I'd love to talk to you. Leave a comment. And these are difficult situations to navigate. These are difficult conversations to be had. But it can be had, and you can move forward in it. Whether or not you lose everything entirely, or you work through it and you build something new. It's important to be fully there. It's important to be fully present with the person, and not react in a volatile manner. React in more of with equanimity, with grace, with respect, and all that stuff. And with the language that will allow the other person, or both people, to move forward beyond this, and sort of foster an environment that's like, hey, we can talk through this and we can get through this and we can figure it out, let's say. Some things they're gonna how do you say, it's gonna end. It is, everything's gonna be gone, everything's gonna be lost, but then you can live your life, you know what I mean? It's not all terrible. It's like, okay, that didn't work out, we can move forward now. We can live fully truthful and lives of integrity. But all that's to say, got my morning coffee here. I just wanted to shoot a video. And yeah, if anyone's got any thoughts or if you want to call in, I will I'll leave. Let's say you're not gonna call in. Let's say you can leave a comment, and then you can leave I'll leave my email down there, and you can email me, and then we can set up a thing to talk. That's if you want. If you're going through a difficult situation, I'd love to help. I'd love to be there to talk through it, and we'll get through it together. But I guess that's all that I have to say about that. Yeah, that's all. Peace.